All right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And you know, the first week in March, we're going to have some killer tastings. Not only are there a lot of people in town, but that's kind of my birthday month, you know, first part of March. I kind of start like the last 2 weeks in February and work my way up to a crescendo the first week in March and then back down. So, you know, the tasting that happens right the week of March 3rd, you know, is going to be really special, like this vintage Burgundy tasting was, and we had some incredible wines on the table. Everything older than 1990, well, with the exception of what we started with, the Vazart Cocart Special Club. This is a small grower producer champagne, and I've really been getting into these special clubs. You know, a group of these small growers, I think about 20 of them got together in the early 70s, and they said, look, we're going to make a special cuvee that try to compete with these large companies, tête de cuvées like Cristal and Dom Perignon, and let me tell you, these are some of the most exciting finds that I've had in the champagne world the last year. I went out in search of all of the special clubs, and we have every one that is available in South Florida. This is my first time tasting the Vazart Cocart, but one of the things that these wines have in common is an incredible richness on the palate. These special clubs entourage for 48 months, so you get a lovely creamy texture to the wines, and just fantastic. This Vazart Cocart was not disappointed. I was not disappointed by this, just like all the other special clubs. Most excellent juice. And we did have a little white because we started with a poach house of riverfish, a classic dish in Burgundy. This dish doesn't go with Pinot Noir. It's all about white wine. And I had to find something older in the white wine that wasn't too old because you don't want to keep white Burgundy too long. And, you know, however, the best producers like Michel Nilon, their wines will last 10, 15, 20 years easy. Like the Chassagne Montrachet Champagne that we had from them. This Premier crew here drinking fantastically. Had a lovely flinty kind of minerally note to the nose. Almost like a matchstick quality to it. And the wine took a little bit of time to open up. When most people don't realize, you know, the white, someone said, God, this wine's a little matterized. Well, I didn't think the wine was matterized at all after it opened up. Had gorgeous fruit to it. Lovely creamy texture. You notice the evolution in this wine, though, but still had lovely freshness and a lot of fruit left to it. This was fabulous with the poach house dish, which is basically trout and natural sauce. It's not cream in it. There's no cheese in it. It's really a peasant dish. Vegetables and, you know, simmered down, and white wine, of course. Fantastic with the Burgundy. And then the reds, which we started out with my year, 1969, from a bottle that I got from Ramassenet directly. And, you know, these guys do top off the wines and freshen them up. You know, this looked like a perfectly new bottle of wine, just recently labeled, just recently corked, and the fill all the way up to the top. So had a little bit of volatile acidity at first on the nose, but that blew off. Some lovely sweet cherry fruit still in this wine. A silky, velvety texture on the tongue. Still nice freshness. This wine was drinking beautifully. You know, definitely past its peak. You know, once you get to be 45 years old as a Burgundy, I mean, only the greatest vineyard sites like the Musigny 71 still rocking this wine. Lovely richness and concentration. Had a sweet raspberry fruit on the nose, and a lovely array of spice box, floral notes, mint, earth, truffle, really complex bouquet. And this wine just went on and on the finish. It just seemed to have more legs, more richness, more complexity, more of everything than everything else on the table. And this wine got the most votes for first place and second place. It was on everybody's scorecard as the wine of the night. And the Musigny Grand Cru, one of my favorite Grand Crus in the vintage of Chambord-Musigny. Only about 3,000 cases produced total of all the dozen people that make Musigny, so a very limited item. And if you could find a 71 Musigny out there today, well, I just looked up the Comte de Vogue. It's $6,000 a bottle. So the 71 Jacques Prieur really showed its pedigree. The 76 and 78 flight were up next from Chateau. We had 76 Chambertin. Say that 10 times for me really quick. And then the 78 Clos Vougeot. And the Chambertin tended to have a little bit of a sun-dried quality to the fruit, as did the Clos Vougeot. You know, these bottles were, I thought, in excellent condition, but, you know, they're getting old. They probably were better 10 years ago. For me, the optimum window for Burgundy would be the wines in the 80s right now, kind of drinking at their peak. But still had some fruit left to them, and some nice spice, a truffly, earthy character, this Chambertin, and a little sun-dried character also, and a nice spice, though, on the finish. These wines still showing good freshness, and they're still hanging on there. The Clos Vougeot I liked a little bit better. Had a little more complexity to it, a little more earthy character to this wine. And with the beef bourguignon, the fruit coming out in both of these wines, I thought that dish was spectacular. We used beef cheeks, which really made it a little more rich and a little more decadence. Now the 83 René Leclerc, this was the lightest wine on the table. Very smooth, toffee, brown spices, kind of iced tea nuance, light red berry fruit notes of cola. Very smooth and very drinkable. This wine at its peak right now. Very light, but still a lot of nuance. Something I love about Burgundy. You don't have to be dark in color to be complex and nuanced. And the 85 Marquis d'Angerville Volnay, usually you go south to north when you're tasting Burgundy. We started out with the old dogs and went to the young ones, and we sandwiched this in between two Gevrey Chambertin, so maybe not fair, but this guy got a couple votes for wine of the night. The 85 vintage was just outstanding. This is one of the top producers, a great crew from Volnay. Still quite large with a firm hand of acidity when this wine. Exotic spices, lovely nuance on the nose. Red plum fruit still evident there. Truffle, really nice earthy character to this wine as well, but a lot of fruit, a lot of everything, and lovely freshness to the finish. The tannins pretty much resolved here, but most excellent juice. Really long finish on this wine. The 88 Gevrey Chambertin Les Casetiers from Jadot. These 88s had a lot of tannin. That's one of the ways you can pick out 88s in a blind tasting. There's not a lot of old vintages that still have this much tannin left. And, a bit austere. It does have some nice black raspberry fruit, oriental spice, some pretty floral notes there. Very complex and quite balanced, though, even though the tannin's still pronounced. Is the fruit going to live long enough for the tannins to finally mellow out in these 88s? I don't know. This is a big and brawny wine, though. Still has a lot of fruit, but again, a little bit heavy in the tannin department. Array of spice and incense kind of note there, and a firm hand of acidity. Excellent bottle of wine, nonetheless. Then the 1990 Leroy Gevrey Chambertin Premier Cru Au Combottes. This wine got second place of the night on most people's scorecard. Almost as many votes for first place as the 71 Musigny. This Gevrey Chambertin, one of the greatest villages in Burgundy. There's 8 Grand Crus located here, and this wine's got a lot of dark cherry fruit still on the nose, an array of exotic spices, mint. This 90 vintage, still big, still really well endowed. This vintage needs more time, even though it's got 24 years on it already. We could still go another 25, I think, with this wine. Lovely tannins, wonderful structure in this wine, silky smooth, velvety on the tongue, but has, like I said, some tannins on the finish still, and a long, zesty finish. A lot of acidity, a lot of everything in this wine. Very well built. This 90 Domaine Leroy Gevrey Chambertin Au Combottes, the number 2 wine of the night. And of course, you're always going to get extra, especially in the month of March, and we busted open a dessert wine. They don't make much dessert wine in Burgundy, so I decided to go with one of the oldest bottles that I own in the store here, a Vouvray Champelou, which 1989 vintage. I think I've had that wine for 14 or 15 years, and I think I've drank almost every bottle that we've opened. Not an easy sell, these dessert wines from the Loire Valley, but they last forever, and this wine was absolutely perfect with the creme brulee, a lovely honey character. Still had some really lovely, luscious fruit here, peaches, apricots, and drinking exceptional. And like I said, the perfect choice with that creme brulee with the berries in it. That's what we had to drink at our vintage Burgundy tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lamposoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.